దూర విద్యా విధానంలో డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ ఓపెన్ యూనివర్సిటీ దేశంలోనే మొట్టమొదటి సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం. దాదాపు 2.5 దశాబ్దాలుగా దూర విద్యా విధానం ద్వారా కంప్యూటర్ కోర్సును అనుసంధానం చేస్తూ BA, BCom, BSc డిగ్రీ కోర్సులను అందిస్తోంది. పోస్ట్ గ్రాడ్యుయేషన్ స్థాయి, డిగ్రీ, డిప్లొమా స్థాయి కోర్సులను ఔత్సాహికులైన విద్యార్థులకు అందిస్తోంది. డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం స్థానికంగా స్వయం బోధనా పద్ధతిలో ముద్రణ రూపంలో రూపొందించిన కోర్స్ మెటీరియల్ అందిస్తోంది. కోర్స్ మెటీరియల్ అధ్యయనానికి సహకరించే విధంగా రేడియో, టెలివిజన్ పాఠ్యాంశాల ఆధారంగా కార్యక్రమాలు ప్రసారం చేస్తోంది. అధ్యయన కేంద్రాల ద్వారా ఏర్పాటు చేసే సలహా సంసర్గ తరగతులు, సైన్స్ ప్రాక్టికల్ సౌకర్యాలు విద్యార్థులకు స్వయం అధ్యయనానికి ఒక చక్కటి అవకాశం. ఇవి విద్యార్థి సమీపంలో ఉండే అధ్యయన కేంద్రం నుంచే పొందొచ్చు.
Students, welcome to this program. Today's program, as you know, there is personality development. It is one of the units of lifespan development psychology, and also it is also a central theme of personality psychology course of M.Sc second year. Personality development, as there are different theories to describe and explain the different approaches to explain the behavior, human behavior. Though we have different theories that explains human behavior, today we will discuss focus more on two theories, that is Freud's theory of psychosexual development. Another theory is Erikson's the psychosocial development. We will also, along with this, we will also discuss the factors that determine personality development, together with meaning and definition of the personality. Students, all of you know, there are different theories of personality, and the personality theories have been classified into different groups or categories. The first one is psychoanalytic approaches, the earliest theories that focus on unconscious content of human beings and also the instincts. Other theories, another group of theories is behavioristic theories, and behaviorists like the Watson and Skinner, they have rejected the views of psychoanalysts because they are not scientific in nature, and it is difficult, and it doesn't have the empirical evidence. And they have proposed that learning is that personality development is a product of learning. And there is another group of theories, personality theories, that is humanistic theories. They said they rejected both psychoanalytic approach and also behavioristic approach, stating that psychoanalytic views are somewhat animalistic in nature, and the behavioristic views are just like the mechanistic. And they developed a different theories that is called the humanistic theories, and they focus on the concept of self-actualization, and personality development revolves around self-actualization. So like this, though there are different theories, we will be discussing now mostly, as I said earlier, Freud's theory and Erikson's theory. To start with, we will discuss the determinants of personality. We have with us two experts to explain various factors associated with personality development. One, Dr. Padmaja is here. She is Assistant Professor, Department of Health Psychology, Hyderabad University. Another expert, Dr. Swathi. She is also Assistant Professor, Usmania University, Hyderabad. Madam, now let us start our discussion. with the meaning, definition and also the determinants of personality briefly.
Sir, as we very well know, as you are aware, the very term personality has been determined and derived from the Latin term persona, meaning the masks used by the Roman theatre artists in order to change the appearance and expression of emotions. For a layperson, personality means external appearance of an individual. However, we know that it is not just the external appearance which matters when we talk about personality. It may be a superficial impression for a layman, but in psychological terms, personality refers to our characteristic ways of responding to individuals and situations. We call people shy, we call them sensitive, we call them friendly, we call them quiet, concerned. All these words refer to different components of personality, different facets. It, in fact, personality refers to a unique and relatively stable set of qualities of an individual which characterize that person's behavior across different situations and across a period of time. So, both in temporal terms as well as across contexts when it does not differ. Then of course, the behavior pattern is established not in a day, it is established over a period of time, and it is a combination of their lifetime experiences as well as the genetic components. These two put together determine the personality of an individual. It is an indelible characteristic and results in a predictable behavior of an individual. Personality thus refers to an individual's unique and relatively consistent pattern of thoughts, feelings and behaviors. Costa and McCrae have a definition for personality, sir. They say it is a psychological organization of individual as a whole and especially those features which distinguish the individuals from others. Once again, as we said, the unique pattern. And Mitchell says that it refers to the distinctive patterns of behavior, thought, emotion which characterize each person's adaptation to the situations of life. And as we have just discussed, there are several determinants of personality. You have been talking about the factors of personality as well. It is not just one component which determines personality. We can talk in terms of biological factors, we can talk in terms of cultural factors, social factors, situational factors. When we talk about biological factors, we can talk about heredity, the brain and its functioning, and of course, the physical features as a layman would look at it. On the other hand, there are these cultural factors. Owing to the culture that we are brought up in, it has a certain significant contribution to the development of personality of an individual, as is the society, the immediate family and the society that he belongs to. They contribute, in fact, the reorganization of an individual in a society as he grows and develops is what is very important in many ways. However, in spite of all these things, we cannot deny the role of a situation. The contextual factors, the situational factors do determine the personality of an individual at large.
Right. Thank you. You explained the meaning of personality, and there is one popular definition which is more comprehensive.
Sir.
That is given by the Allport.
Correct.
The Allport said the personality is a dynamic organization of psychophysical systems that determine one's behavior and thought. Here there are three or four key factors are there. He emphasized that, Allport emphasized, personality is dynamic in nature, that the factors they change over a period of time. That is one. Number two is the organization, and he also said the personality is not sum total of traits, it is a systematic organization of the traits in a pattern form. That is one thing. Another important point that he has discussed as a part of definition is psychophysical systems. The psychophysical system, that means that is psychological factors that involve the say habits, the attitudes, the values and the drives, so on. And he also said all these psychological factors have biological basis. That is the thing he has said. So, finally, he said this personality development is neither exclusively neural or physical or biological, nor exclusively environmental. and he also uses the term characteristic. The characteristic denotes that trait is a unique one that differentiates one individual from another individual. And last thing is behavior and the thought. How a person behaves, that is what he is explaining. So, he has covered different factors to explain the term personality.
So, to sum it up, sir, as Alport rightly points out, while he acknowledges the influence of situations on behavior, he held the way a person reacts to a given situation
Yes.
depends upon his or her trait.
Yes.
There may be a stimulus which may differ. However, based upon his trust, based upon his trait, the response is given by him. So, that way, yes, the uniqueness of individual
Yes.
is very well discussed by Alport.
And there is another important, the different theories are there, as I already explained. So, we will start with Freud theory. The Freud has developed a theory that is psychoanalytic theory. Dr. Swathi, will you please throw some light on Freud's psychoanalytic theory?
Yeah, I think when we describe about the personality or the theories of personality, I think we have to start with the Sigmund Freud. This is the basic theory, and the theory proposed by Sigmund Freud is psychoanalysis, which is used as a theory to describe, understand about the personality as such, and also the same concepts, the same kind of a theory is also used as a therapeutic process. So, naturally, like without speaking about the Sigmund Freud or the psychoanalytic theory, we cannot go into the other theories. So, it is very influential, and probably this has led to the controversies and then led to the emergence of various neo-Freudian theories and also the humanistic theory and other things. So, I think Sigmund Freud is the main proponent, where like made the people focus about the how that personality has been developed, what are the main concepts like given by the Sigmund Freud. So, when we think about the psychoanalysis, according to Freud, already the personality is predetermined. When we say it is predetermined, naturally like the childhood experiences play an important role in influencing the personality, and unconscious motives play an important role. And apart from that, the instincts, when he speaks about the instincts, naturally like we are born with the instincts according to him. So, even that comes like very influential in shaping our behavior, in shaping our personality. So, probably I think when we are discussing about the Sigmund Freud, we have to cover all these concepts, starting with the levels of mind, layers of awareness. When we say layers of awareness, naturally the conscious, pre-conscious and the unconscious. How like when we speak about the conscious, whatever is immediately present to our mind, we speak about the conscious mind, how it influences. Like when we say like what is that we are doing right now, trying to make the students understand the concept of personality, we are aware what we are doing it. And when we speak about the pre-conscious, it is not immediately available, but probably with a little bit of effort, whatever has been stored, we can bring it back to the conscious mind. But generally people feel our behavior is very much influenced at the conscious level, but contrary to this, it is the unconscious which is very dominant in influencing our thoughts, in influencing our behavioral process, in shaping our beliefs and opinions. So, the unconscious has been given a vital role according to Sigmund Freud.
You have covered the essential factors of psychoanalytic theory. You said that instinct. I also said that behavior is instinctual. He has identified two types of instincts. That is the life instinct, that is a constructive nature, and the death instinct, that is a destructive nature. Okay. And he also said, as you said, ego, then there is unconscious, and he has compared with the iceberg. He has iceberg. The conscious part, only little part is seen. Conscious part is very much, very less. The tip of the iceberg is conscious, but under the water, much of the mass is there. Just like unconscious content of the human beings is more than the conscious part. That is why he focused more on the unconscious part of the human beings. Dr. Padmaja, can you add a few more ideas about this psychoanalytic theory?
Yes, sir. In fact, Freudian theory is based upon 4 central themes, out of which very important theme both of you have discussed right now, the levels of consciousness. We will come to it shortly. In addition to this levels of consciousness, he also talks about the structure of personality, and he talks about anxiety defense mechanisms, and very importantly, very relevant to the concept that we are discussing today, he talks about what are called psychosexual stages of development. So, let us quickly run through these various central themes, the 4 central themes. As you both have rightly pointed out, levels of consciousness refers to a, is compared to an iceberg, which is immersed in, as you see on the screen right now. There is an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is visible to us, which refers to the conscious zone. This tip of the iceberg is what we are thinking and experiencing at this point in time. It is visible, it is a small portion of our ideas and impulses which dwell within our minds. Then beneath this conscious realm is a much larger pre-conscious containing memories, which are not part of the current thought, but at the same time can be brought into the mind readily if required. With some effort we can bring them to the conscious level. Now, beneath this pre-conscious is the unconscious, which, as you rightly pointed out both of you, which forms a larger portion of the personality, which contains thoughts, desires, urges, impulses of an individual which he or she is largely unaware of. This contains the biological instincts which you have been talking about, the sex and aggression. And of course, unconscious is the major part, as we have already discussed. Now, let us move on to the structure of personality. Structure of personality, when we talk about it, we talk about 3 components over here. Number 1 is id, Latin for it. It contains the biological drives which seek immediate gratification and operates by pleasure principle. That is the core component over here. Operating upon the pleasure principle is the core component over here. Then comes the ego, which is Latin once again for I. This helps the individual to adapt to the external reality and making compromises between the id and yet another component which I am going to talk about shortly, the super ego. And of course, the individual and the environment. This operates by what is called the reality principle, largely upon reality principle, and directs the individual towards expression of these sexual and aggressive impulses which are generally hidden and expressed in socially acceptable ways. Now comes the super ego, the Latin for over the I. It acts as the moral guide, and it contains the conscience, the so called conscience which we commonly call, and makes us feel guilty for doing or thinking something wrong. And this also contains what is called that ego ideal. Conscience is one and ego ideal is the other, which makes us feel good for wanting or doing something good as well. On one side guilt, on the other side wanting and being good. Now, based upon this and the anxiety that both of you have mentioned, there are what are called defense mechanisms which we use as shields to protect ourselves from anxiety, which may result from the conflicts. And anxiety and defense mechanism. So, you see the picture, you can see the picture of id, ego and super ego, which is displayed on the screen, which we have just talked about. What are the components of id, what are the components of ego and super ego, and how anxiety may result as a result of the conflict between the impulses of id and super ego. So far as possible, ego tries to compensate, ego tries to act as an executive, but then it may not always do it. That is when anxiety results, and then defense mechanisms are used, several defense mechanisms. Now, let us come to the next concept of psychosexual stages of development, wherein we have 5 stages, sir. Basically, we start with oral. Freud talks about human development in terms of these 5 stages. Majorly, personality is determined in these stages. Now, let us look at this slide. The 5 stages are shown on the slide. The first stage being the oral stage, second anal stage, third phallic, then comes a latency period followed by genital stage. Before going into these stages, very quickly let us talk about 2 concepts, that is libido and fixation. Libido refers to the instinctual force which energizes the id that we have just discussed, and release of libido is closely related to pleasure, and its focus changes as the child develops over a period of time. In each stage of development, I have talked about 5 stages of development, and in each stage of development an individual obtains a different kind of pleasure and leaves behind a small amount of libido in the process. So, this according to Freud will be the normal course of events. However, when an excessive amount of libido energy is tied to a particular stage, that is when fixation results. And this can stem from either too much or too little gratification during that phase. So, let us go into the oral stage, sir. Once again, let us look at this slide which we have demonstrated just now till now. In the initial oral stage, the first stage in the developmental sequence, the psychosexual stage, oral stage, which is roughly between birth and 18 months. Maybe see the slide, please. Between birth and 18 months, this is when the child seeks pleasure through the mouth. If too much or too little gratification occurs during this stage, the individual may tend to become fixated at that stage. So, this fixation can be oral passive or oral sadistic. Too little gratification results in a personality which is overly dependent on others, too much, especially after the child has developed teeth. And on the other hand, I mean, this results in a personality which is excessively hostile, especially through verbal sarcasm. And then comes the anal stage. Anal stage, once again, maybe have a look at the same slide once again. Let us refer to the anal stage. It occurs in response to efforts by parents to toilet train the children. And the process of elimination here becomes the primary focus of pleasure, and fixation at this stage stemming from overly harsh toilet training experiences will result in excessive orderly or compulsive individuals. And in contrast, when there is a very relaxed toilet training, then that may result in people who are indisciplined, impulsive and excessively generous. The third stage, as you see, is phallic stage. This is where the genitals become the primary source of pleasure for children. This is about the age of 4 roughly. So, Freud says the child may develop strong sexual attachment to the parent of the other gender at this time and begin to view the parent of the same gender as a rival for the other parent's affections. So, this is when boys may develop Oedipus complex, and in girls it may be Electra complex. And fear of punishment for such desires that we talked about may result in boys in castration anxiety, and in girls it may result in a fear of loss of love. And then in both cases, these fears bring about the resolution of Oedipus complex. Because of the fear, there is a resolution of Oedipus complex which is targeted, and that is when identification with the same sex parent happens. That through this identification, these parents, the respective gender, will become the role models for them. They become the models rather than rivals, and thus for girls mothers become models, and for boys fathers become models. This is followed by latency stage, which is more or less a stage where after the resolution of Oedipus complex, children enter this stage, and this is when, according to Freud, the sexual urges are at minimum. Then finally, the genital stage. Let us once again look at the slide. This is during puberty. Adolescents enter this genital stage, and pleasure is focused on the genitals. However, now lust is blended with affection, unlike the earlier stage, and people become capable of adult mature love. And according to Freud, progression to this stage is possible only if serious fixation has not occurred in the previous stages. If such fixations occur, then development is blocked and various disorders result.
Thank you, Dr. Padmaja. You have explained different concepts of the Freud. As the Freud said that personal development is spread over 5 stages. You have rightly explained, and he also said that personality is well formed by the years, say 8 years, 5 to 7 or 8 years. That means you focus that much of the personality of the person will be developed by the time the child reaches, say 7 or 8 years. Afterwards, but the Erikson, in contrast to the Freud, Erikson developed a different theory. The Freud, as you said, Freud focused more on sexual content of the people or pleasure principles, and the Erikson, he focused on social factors, and stages are different. So, madam, will you please explain the Erikson's theory of psychosocial development?
Yes. Erikson is another important person who has been very influential in making the people understand about the personality. Like, this theory is called as psychosocial development because he feels it is not like human behavior is predetermined, but it is the social experiences which will try to influence the personality of the individual. So, when they say like the social experiences, naturally once again, like according to Erikson, if the child has undergone a bitter past experiences that might have been like very influential in trying to if they have not been overcome at a later in the particular stage, naturally that might be influencing him as an adult in the later stage. So, according to Erikson, at every stage there is a particular crisis which may occur as a part of the interaction with the environment. If that particular crisis has not been handled properly, and if it is not confronted properly, naturally like the person may be at a loss in dealing with the later stresses. So, according to him, at every stage there is a crisis, and if the individual has mastered this, he will develop a virtue which will help him to progress, to move on to the next stage. However, it does not mean that if a child has failed to successfully master a particular stage, he will be fixated there, unlike the Freud, but he will be moving on to the next stage, but the competency levels in handling the situations might be different. So, this theory is also called as the 8 stages of man, because the whole across the lifespan, like the whole of the lifespan has been divided into different stages according to Erikson. So, let us see like what are those 8 stages, and what is the crisis, and what is the virtue that will be developed at a particular stage. So, naturally like infancy is the first one, the first stage is the infancy stage, and the crisis that they have to experience here is whether to trust or mistrust. Trust versus mistrust is the crisis that they are encountered. So, here the significant person who will be influencing the child whether to develop the trust with the concerned person or with the world is the mother here. Basically, the interaction will be with the mother. So, when the mother is not able to take care of the child properly, when the child is not able to develop a proper interaction with the mother, the child may develop a mistrust. But if there is a significant prominent positive experiences, naturally the virtue that is developed by the child is the hope. So, with this hope he will be moving on to the next stage. But if there is a mistrust, naturally the child will be very suspicious about himself, about the people, and also the world around. The next stage would be the toddlerhood. So, in the toddlerhood, the crisis that is experienced is autonomy versus shame and doubt. So, this is the stage where like the child tries to explore, tries to make the things on his own, and when he is able to achieve the mastery over the environment, that the kind of the purpose that he feels is different. But when the child is not able to handle, naturally the child starts feeling shamefulness, or the self doubt will be starting. So, probably we can see the other stages also.
Like
Okay, you can also
we'll
add to the theory of psychosocial development, madam.
yes, sir. So, as Dr. Swathi has rightly pointed out.
Madam, sorry for interruption. Students, if you have any doubts on this theme, you can call us. You can please note the phone numbers. The phone, there are 3 numbers. One is 040-270-31431. That is one phone number, and another phone number is 040-270-31432, and third phone number is 040-270-31433. If you have any doubts, we can ask our experts, they will clarify. Madam, please add some more ideas about this psychosocial development.
Yes, sir. As rightly pointed out by Swathi, by Dr. Swathi, we see that in fact the development of a child is compared with a rose bud, unfolding itself and blossoming. Just as each petal opens by the virtue of nature and by the laws of nature in a particular sequence and in a particular progression, so also with the child's development everything happens in a systematic way. If we try to open the rosebud by force, then there is a damage which will happen. So also with a child's development, each stage has to be progressed in a particular sequence and fashion. So, like Dr. Swathi has very rightly mentioned, the first 2 stages have been trust versus mistrust and autonomy versus shame. So, now comes this age of preschool. For the preschooler, the major crisis is initiative versus guilt. Can I take an initiative? Or if there is something wrong, is there going to be some problem about it? So, the initiative versus guilt is between the 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 over here, that's the time where this happens, and then this is where the sense of guilt can take over an individual if not dealt with properly. Then comes the stage of school age proper, which is 7 to 12 roughly, about 6 and up to 12, let us say, in industry versus inferiority, wherein the child has to put in a lot of effort, do a lot of work on his own or her own, and then at the same time, whether I am competent enough, capable enough to do the work, deal with things or not, the sense of inferiority may step in at that point in time. So, this is followed by one of the very important stages and very well known stage which people discuss much, which is adolescence stage, that is where identity versus confusion, role confusion steps in. This is where the popular Eriksonian concept of identity crisis is described. So, probably Swathi can discuss the further steps from here on.
Okay. So, once the adolescent reaches this particular stage, naturally the identity crisis, the focus on the career, trying to prove themselves like who am I, the sense of identity starts. They don't want to establish their relation with the parents, show the relationship with the parents as the prominent, but they want to achieve their own sense of identity. So, once they have settled in the career or started their career, they move on to the next stage, and there they try to have this kind of a crisis, that is intimacy versus isolation. So, here this stage is also called as like sweetheart syndrome, because they want to establish an intimate relationship, start the household role, and then see that they are trying to have a full sweet life and fulfilled life in the household work. But at the same time here, if there is a misunderstanding between the couple, if they are not able to establish a sense of solidarity among themselves, naturally they feel they are isolated, they are neglected, they were not given the attention. So, here the virtue that they have to develop here is love, that is understanding the other person's love and also showering the same love and affection to their partner. So, when this happens, naturally like the adulthood will be very fruitful, and they will be moving on to the next stage, that is we call it as generativity versus stagnation. This occurs during the we can say middle adulthood, that is like around 20 to 30 to 45 years. And during this generativity versus stagnation, here they have consolidated their life goals, established their marital life, trying to have a sense of satisfaction with their life, and so here they have some time to contribute something to the society. Or if they have already become the grandparents, naturally they want to generate whatever the family wisdom that they have to the young generations. But if they feel that they do not have any kind of the achievement, naturally they feel that they have stagnated, they go on like ruminating about the past. Once the middle adulthood is successful, and at this virtue, the virtue that has developed during this stage is care, caring for the family, caring for the society, caring to contribute something to the society. With this virtue, they move on to the next. The last stage would be old age, or call it as senior adulthood or late adulthood. And here,
for interruption, there is a phone call.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Okay. Hello. Matladu cheppandi. Please speak. Please ask a question.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Hello.
సార్ మీరు ఇందాక పర్సనల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ గురించి చెప్తున్నారు కదా.
అవును.
మీరు చెప్తుంటే మా పిల్లోడు ఏం చేశాడంటే వాడు 8 years old సార్.
8 years.
సెకండ్ క్లాస్ అవుతున్నాడు. అబ్బాయికి ఎట్లా అంటే ఎల్డర్స్ వాళ్ళు బిహేవ్ చేస్తారు సార్ 18 years మధ్య.
ఓకే.
ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఎప్పుడంటే ఫిలిం పోదామంటే ఎందుకు ఫిలిం పోవాలా, ఒక 1 month తర్వాత మన టీవీలోనే వస్తుంది కదా, మనం ఎందుకు మనీ వేస్ట్ చేయాలా, ఆ థింకింగ్ లో థింక్ చేస్తారు సార్ వాడు.
అంటే మీకు సమస్య కరెక్ట్గా సమస్య చెప్పండి, మీకు ఏం కావాలా?
సార్
మీకు సమస్య అదేనా మీకు?
ఏం సార్?
ఓకే, రైట్ మేడం. స్వాతి గారు, ప్లీజ్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ దిస్.
okay. అంటే
చెప్పండి,
ఇక్కడ
తెలుగులో చెప్పండి.
సమస్య కన్నా కూడా ఒక 8 years బాబు ఆ రకంగా ఆలోచిస్తున్నాడు అంటే అది మీరు నెగిటివ్గా ఎందుకు తీసుకుంటున్నారు? ఇదే మాట ఒకవేళ మీరు అంతకుముందు ఏదన్నా సందర్భంలో అని కూడా ఉండుండొచ్చు. సో అదే హీ మైట్ బి రిపీటింగ్ ఇట్. లేదు ఇప్పుడు మనకి కొత్త మూవీస్ వెంటనే టీవీలో ప్రసారం అవుతున్నాయి కాబట్టి ఆ రకంగా అనడంలో అది అబ్నార్మాలిటీగా నాకైతే అనిపించట్లేదు.
టు యాడ్ నేను కొంచెం యాడ్ చేస్తానండి స్వాతి చెప్పిన దానికి. మన వ్యక్తి తాలూకు ప్రవర్తన రకరకాల కారణాల మీద ఆధారపడి ఉంటుందండి. అందులో ఒక ముఖ్యమైనటువంటి అంశం ఏంటి అంటే చుట్టుపక్కల వాతావరణం. ఇప్పుడు మీలోనే మీరు కానీ మీ భార్య కానీ లేదా అతను బాబు ఎక్కువగా తరచుగా చూసేటువంటి పెద్దవాళ్ళు కానీ బాగా తార్కికంగా రేషనల్గా మాట్లాడుతున్నారనుకోండి, ఫలానా దానికి ఇలాంటి కారణాలు ఉంటే చేస్తే మంచిది, ఇలా ఎవరైనా ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తూ మాట్లాడుతున్నారనుకోండి, ఆ అబ్బాయి దాన్ని ఇంట్రోజెక్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. అంటే తన అంతర్గతంగా దాన్ని జీర్ణించుకోవచ్చు, దాన్ని అర్థం చేసుకోవచ్చు, ఆకలింపు చేసుకొని ఉండొచ్చు. ఈ కారణం వల్ల ఆయన ఈ సినిమాకి ఇప్పుడే పోతే దానివల్ల ప్రయోజనం ఏంటి, కొన్నాళ్ళు పోతే టీవీలో వస్తుంది కదా అన్న లాజిక్ అతనికి అర్థమై ఉండొచ్చు. రెండోది ఏంటంటే పిల్లల్లో ఇంక్విజిటివ్నెస్ ఉంటుంది. అంటే అన్నీ తెలుసుకోవాలనేటువంటి ఉత్సాహం, ఉత్సుకత ఉంటుంది. ఇతనికి సినిమాల పట్ల లేదేమో అలాంటిది. ఏ విషయంలో అతనికి ఆ ఉత్సాహం, ఉత్సుకత ఉందో కొంచెం మీరు లోతుగా పరిశీలించే ప్రయత్నం చేయండి.
Okay, thank you, madam. We will please continue your.
So in the last stage in the Erikson's theory is the senior adulthood, or call it as late adulthood. So here, like, the crisis is whether to have the integrity of the life or the despair. So this integrity, the sense of integrity depends upon the kind of accomplishments that they have, the kind of life satisfaction or the meaning or the purpose that they have felt with their own life experiences. But in case if the individual feels that he has not accomplished anything, all the dreams were left like the dreams but could not fulfill anything, naturally they will be in the despair. So here, like, the virtue that they have to develop is the wisdom. To what extent we can happily manage the life with the contentment, or should we really be depressed with the feelings of isolation or the sense of despair? So this is how, like, the Erikson theory goes on. So at every stage, if we have overcome the crisis, naturally we can say we have mastered that particular stage, and that will help us to handle the situations at a later stage. If we have not mastered a particular stage or could not overcome a crisis, naturally the individual feels a sense of inadequacy.
So adding to whatever Dr. Swathi has said, sir, the contrast, though the similarity between Freud and Erikson are there are certain similarities between Freud and
differences also.
Yes, but then there are differences also. How Eriksonian theory is different from Freud is, number one, as we have discussed, psychosocial. It doesn't completely emphasize upon the psychosexual aspect. On the other hand, while Freud emphasizes upon the libido and fixation aspect, Erikson says that we move on. There may be crisis at each stage, but then irrespective of the resolution of the crisis, we still move on. We don't remain, our personality does not remain over there. We may carry a little bit of, whatever has been there in that stage with us. However, that does not stop us from moving on. We don't get fixated over there. So that emphasis on fixation which is there in Freud is not seen in Eriksonian stage, and Erikson, as the title of the theory itself indicates, emphasizes upon the social component.
Social factors.
Yes.
At the same time, like, we can see a slight influence of Freud when he uses certain concepts like oral sensory, muscular, anal and locomotor genital. So a little bit of influence of Freud is still existing, but his overemphasis on the society, social experiences, I think that makes the prominent this particular theory from the psychoanalytic theory.
So the launchpad has been the Freudian theory.
Yeah.
However, he moved on, he moved ahead. He doesn't remain there in psychosexual stages of development.
Erikson has not completely rejected the ideas of Freud.
True.
Has accepted. Only thing is placed more emphasis on social
Social
factors,
component,
social
yes.
life instead of sex.
Yes.
Instead of
That is the only
fixation, he
difference.
used the term crisis.
Crisis.
And at the same time is very hopeful that the individual will be developing certain virtues. So
Right.
these are, like, different from the psychoanalysis.
As you said that though there are different stages, Erikson said several stages are there, but you said that particular one stage is more popular, or much discussion by different psychologists or public, that is identity crisis, that is identity and role confusion. So that is most important, because unless the people resolve the problem, that confusion will go to the next stage. But it should have been resolved at this stage. But with confusion is going to the next stage. That is what it says. That has to be resolved
Yes.
at that stage itself. So that for the resolution, different factors they help the provide the support system. They can resolve that crisis and successfully move to the next stage. We have discussed two theories. There is Freud's theory and also the Erikson's theory. And there is another approach that explains personality development. There is that approach is a behavioristic approach. Different people contributed to this approach. Dr. Padmaja madam, will you please throw light on this behavioristic approach?
Sure, sir. Once again, like we talked about Freud and Erikson, probably me and Dr. Swathi will talk a little about each of these theories. So, basically behavioral approach rejects the importance of biological factors in favor of environmental forces. Now, here comes a theory which emphasizes more and more upon the environmental factors.
Hello, sorry for this issue. Hello, మాట్లాడండి.
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ సార్.
ఓకే,
హలో
చెప్పండి.
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ సార్.
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్. ఓకే, ప్లీజ్.
సార్ ఇప్పుడు నెక్స్ట్ సెమిస్టర్ స్టార్ట్ అవ్వడం ముందు ఏదైనా కాలేజ్కి వెళ్లే ముందు మనం అనుకుంటాం కదా సార్, ఇలా స్టార్ట్ చేయాలి, అలా స్టార్ట్ చేయాలి, అంటే బాగా చదవాలి, అలా అనుకుంటాం సార్. మనకి పోయే దారిలో ఏమవుతుందంటే సడన్ గా మన కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ లెవెల్స్ తగ్గిపోతాయి. లాస్ట్ సెమిస్టర్కి వచ్చేసరికి మళ్ళీ నెక్స్ట్ సెమిస్టర్ లో బాగా చదువుతాంలే అనేటట్టు అయిపోతాం కదా సార్.
ఓ, మీకు సమస్య కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ తగ్గుతున్నదా?
హలో సార్.
రైట్, ఓకే మేడం, మీకు ఆన్సర్ ఇస్తారు, ఎక్స్పర్ట్స్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తారు.
ఐ థింక్ ఇది చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి అందరికీ ఉన్న ఒక చిన్న కామన్ సిమ్టమ్ ఇది. స్కూల్ దగ్గర నుంచి కూడా మనము నెక్స్ట్ జూన్ రాగానే మంచి బుక్స్ చదవాలి, మంచి అన్నీ రెడీగా ఉండాలి, ఈసారి లాస్ట్ టైం కన్నా బాగా చదువుకోవాలి అని. సో ద మెయిన్ ఇంటెన్షన్ అయితే మీకు ఉన్నది కాబట్టి ఐ థింక్ అది మీరు మోటివేటింగ్ ఫ్యాక్టర్గా మీరు పెట్టుకోండి. ఇక్కడ కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ అన్నది ఎందుకు ఉండట్లేదు, ఏ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ అక్కడ అన్నది మీరు గమనించుకోవాలి. అంటే సబ్జెక్ట్ టఫ్గా ఉందా, మీరు అర్థం కావట్లేదా, లేదంటే మీరు వేసుకున్న ప్రణాళిక ప్రకారం చదవలేకపోతున్నారా, ఏమైనా స్టడీ హ్యాబిట్స్ మార్చుకోవాలా. సో సమస్య ఎక్కడుంది అన్నది కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ తగ్గడానికి మీరు అనలైజ్ చేసుకోగలిగితే ఐ థింక్ ఆ కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ బిల్డప్ చేసుకునే ప్రయత్నం మనం చేయొచ్చు.
ఒక చిన్న కొద్దిగా తను మాట్లాడిన దానికి ఎడిషన్ అండి, స్వాతి మాట్లాడిన దానికి ఒక 2 మాటలు ఎడిషన్. సమయపాలన గురించి స్వాతి మేడం చాలా కరెక్ట్గా చెప్పారు, డాక్టర్ స్వాతి కరెక్ట్గా చెప్పారు, చాలా వివరంగా చెప్పారు. అదే కాకుండా మనలో ప్రతిదాన్ని తర్వాత చూసుకుందాంలే అనేటువంటి ఆ ప్రోక్రాస్టినేషన్ ఏదైతే ఉందో, తర్వాత పోస్ట్పోన్మెంట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో, తర్వాత వాయిదా పద్ధతి, మనం వాయిదాల పద్ధతి అలవాటు పడిపోయాం కదా, అలా వాయిదా వేసుకునే మనస్తత్వం ఏదైతే ఉందో దాన్ని మనం ఆత్మపరిశీలన చేసుకోవాలండి. చాలా విషయాలకి మనం సమస్య అని మనం గట్టిగా చెప్పుకునే విషయానికి కొంత అంతఃశోధన మనలోకి మనం వీక్షించుకుంటే కనుక, మనలోకి మనం తొంగి చూసుకుంటే ఎక్కడ మనలో లోపం ఉంది అని మనం ఆత్మవిశ్లేషణ చేసుకుంటే సమాధానాలు దొరుకుతాయండి.
మేడం సరే, వన్ మోర్ ఫోన్ ఈజ్ రెడీ. ఓకే, చెప్పండి. హలో, చెప్పండి. గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్, ప్లీజ్.
సార్, నా క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే లైక్ ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు క్రియేట్ ఏ పర్టికులర్ పర్సనాలిటీ రైట్ ఫ్రమ్ ది చైల్డ్హుడ్,
రైట్,
బై అడాప్టింగ్ దీస్ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ కెన్ వి క్రియేట్ ఏ పర్టికులర్ personality for a child? I mean, if I want to create, this kind of behavior, this kind of attitude towards various situations, can we do that by adopting all these Freud and Erikson principles?
Oh, yes, okay. Right.
ఓకే, ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే ఆయన అడిగింది మనం ఈ పర్సనాలిటీ థియరీస్ ప్రకారము మనము పిల్లల్ని ఆ రకంగా షేప్ చేయగలుగుతామా అని. ఒకటండి, ఈచ్ ఇండివిజువల్ ఈజ్ యూనిక్. ప్రతి పిల్లడు కూడా చాలా భిన్నంగా ఉంటాడు. వాళ్ళ ఆలోచనలు, వాళ్ళ అభిరుచులను తగ్గట్టుగానే వాళ్ళు ఎదుగుతారు. కాకపోతే ఇక్కడ మనం ఒక కండ్యూసివ్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ అనేది ఉండాలి. ఇక్కడ ఫ్రాయిడ్ ప్రకారం మనం పెంచాలా, ఎరిక్సన్ ప్రకారం పెంచాలా అని కాకుండా మనము ఏ రకమైన వాతావరణాన్ని ఇస్తున్నాము, వాళ్ళని ఏ రకంగా వాళ్ళు నేర్చుకునే అవకాశం ఇస్తున్నాము, వాళ్ళకి ఏదైనా సమస్య వస్తే వాళ్ళు ఏ రకంగా హ్యాండిల్ చేస్తున్నారు, సపోజ్ యాంగ్జైటీ అంటే ఎటువంటి యాంగ్జైటీ ఉంది, రియలిస్టిక్గానే ఉందా లేదంటే అనవసరంగా భయపడుతున్నారా? సో ఇలా మనం అనలైజ్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు మనకు తెలియకుండానే ఫ్రాయిడ్స్ థియరీ అక్కడ అప్లై చేస్తూ ఉంటాం. సో అదే రకంగా మనం పిల్లల్లోని టాలెంట్ని గుర్తించి కానీ వాళ్ళ అభిరుచులను గుర్తించి వాళ్ళు చిన్న చిన్న పొరపాట్లు చేస్తున్నా వాళ్ళని ఎంకరేజ్ చేస్తూ ఇంకా ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్తున్నప్పుడు మనము వాళ్ళకి ఎక్స్ప్లోర్ చేసే అవకాశం ఇస్తున్నాం. అక్కడ ఎరిక్సన్స్ థియరీ మనం వాడుతూ ఉంటాం. సో ఒక థియరీలోని పిల్లల పెంచడాన్ని మనం ఆ చట్రంలో పెట్టకూడదు. కాకపోతే మనము ఏ రకంగా వాళ్ళని పేరెంటింగ్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు ఏ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ ఎలా వాడడానికి అన్నది పేరెంట్స్కి ఉపయోగపడుతుంది.
I'll add a little more to what Swathi said అండి. మధుసూదన్ రెడ్డి గారు, మనము మీరు ఇప్పుడు విన్నది కేవలం ఫ్రాయిడ్ గురించి, ఎరిక్సన్ గురించే. ఇంకా అనేక సిద్ధాంతాలు ఉన్నాయండి. బిహేవియరిస్టిక్ ఉదాహరణకు ప్రవర్తనవాద సిద్ధాంతం ఉంది, బిహేవియరిస్టిక్ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్. అవి వింటే మీకు ఇంకా కొన్ని డౌట్స్ రావచ్చు. చూడండి, ఇందాక మొట్టమొదట్లో మనం ఈ డిస్కషన్లో మొట్టమొదట మనం చెప్పుకున్నట్టు ఒక వ్యక్తిత్వం డిటర్మిన్ అవ్వాలి అంటే దానికి రకరకాల కారకాలు ఉంటాయి, ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ చాలా ఉంటాయి. దాన్ని డిటర్మిన్ చేసేటువంటి కాంటెక్స్ట్ రకరకాలు ఉంటాయి. అది జెనెటిక్ కావచ్చు, అది సిచ్యుయేషనల్ కావచ్చు, మన చుట్టూ ఉన్నటువంటి సమాజం కావచ్చు, మన ఫ్యామిలీ కావచ్చు, అలాగే మనకి వ్యక్తిగతంగా మనకి ఎదురయ్యేటువంటి సిచ్యుయేషనల్ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్, పరిస్థితులు కావచ్చు. అది ఇప్పుడు ఉదాహరణకి ఇద్దరు పిల్లలు ఉన్నారనుకోండి, ఐడెంటికల్ ట్విన్స్ ఉన్నారనుకోండి, ఇద్దరివి 100% ఒకే రకంగా ఉండదు వాళ్ళ ప్రవర్తన తీరు, వాళ్ళిద్దరి వ్యక్తిత్వం 100% ఒకే రకంగా ఉండదు, వాళ్ళలో కొన్ని మార్పులు ఉంటాయి. అలాగే ఏ ఇద్దరు వ్యక్తులు ఒక రకంగా ఉండరండి. కేవలం సిద్ధాంతానికి అనుగుణంగా మనం పెంచడము అనే కంటే ఈ సిద్ధాంతాలని అర్థం చేసుకొని వాటిల్లో ఉన్నటువంటి ఆ సబ్జెక్ట్ మ్యాటర్ ఏదైతే ఉందో అవి మనకి చెప్పేటువంటి ఆచరణాత్మకమైనటువంటి ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో వాటిని మన పెంపకంలో అనుకూలంగా ఉపయోగించుకోవడానికి, తర్వాత బిడ్డ ప్రవర్తనని అర్థం చేసుకోవడానికి ఇవి ఉపయోగపడతాయండి. ఉదాహరణకి ప్రవర్తనవాద సిద్ధాంతాలు ఉంటాయి. ఎప్పుడు వాళ్ళని ప్రోత్సహిస్తే మంచిది, ఏ రకంగా వాళ్ళని ప్రోత్సహిస్తే మంచిది, ఎక్కడ ప్రోత్సాహం అవసరం లేదు, ఇలాంటివి అర్థం చేసుకోవడానికి ఉంటుంది. అలాగే ఫ్రాయిడ్ సిద్ధాంతాలు ఎందుకు ఈ పాప కానీ బాబు కానీ ఇలా ఎందుకు బిహేవ్ చేస్తున్నారు అని అర్థం చేసుకోవడానికి పనికొస్తాయి. సో అనువుగా ఉపయోగించుకోవచ్చే కానీ వాటిని బేస్ చేసి మాత్రమే వ్యక్తిత్వాన్ని డిటర్మిన్ చేస్తాము అని చెప్పలేమండి. అర్థం చేసుకోవడానికి పనికొస్తాయి.
Okay, one more phone call. Hello.
Good afternoon, the panel.
Good afternoon, please.
My question is, most of the highly educated or most of the even political science PhD holders don't take politics as their career. Why this is happening?
ఏమిటి మీ సమస్య ఏంటి? అందరూ
పొలిటికల్ సైకాలజీ డిస్కస్ చేయాలి.
Psychology of the what is the difference? Less educated are ruling, most educated are being ruled.
ఓకే, మీరు డిఫరెంట్. ఓకే, మీ ఆలోచన వేరుగా ఉంది. అది సైకాలజీ పరంగా మీరు ఎలాంటి ఆన్సర్ ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తున్నారు?
చెప్పండి సార్, మీరు చెప్పండి.
రైట్ అయిపోయింది. ఫోన్ కట్ అయింది.
ఓకే,
అదే ఇది బేసికల్గా ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే పొలిటికల్ సైకాలజీ వైపు నుంచి మనం ఆలోచించాలి. ఎందుకు చదువుకున్న వాళ్ళందరూ లీడర్స్ అవ్వడానికి ఇష్టపడరు, పొలిటికల్ లీడర్స్ అన్నది అంటే ఒక విధంగా క్వశ్చన్ మంచిదే, మన కాంటెక్స్ట్లో కాకపోయినా. ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే మనం లీడర్షిప్ క్వాలిటీస్ అవసరం అవుతాయి, ఆ ఛాలెంజింగ్గా తీసుకోవాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంటుంది. సో చదువుకున్న వాళ్ళందరూ మేధావులుగా భావించినా కానీ ఆ మేధావితనం సరిపోదు పొలిటికల్ లీడర్స్గా ఉండడానికి. సో ప్రాబబ్లీ ఇది ఆల్టుగెదర్ డిఫరెంట్ క్వశ్చన్.
ఇంకొకటి స్వాతి చెప్పిన కోణంలో నుంచి కాకుండా మరొక కోణంలో నుంచి కొంచెం చెప్తాను సార్. ఇప్పుడు మీ ఉద్దేశం ప్రకారం పాలిటిక్స్ని ఒక కెరియర్గా ఎందుకు తీసుకోవట్లేదు వీళ్ళు అనేది మీ ఉద్దేశం. చదువుకున్న వాళ్ళు ఎందుకు తీసుకోవట్లేదు అంటే, కెరియర్గా భావించాలి మనం జీవితంలో, మనం ఒక కెరియర్ మన కోసం అంటూ ఏర్పరచుకోవాలంటే వ్యక్తిత్వం ముఖ్యమండి, దాంతోపాటు ఆసక్తి ముఖ్యం, దానికి తగ్గ నైపుణ్యాలు ముఖ్యం. ఇవన్నీ కూడా మనం ఆలోచించుకోవాల్సినవి ఉన్నాయండి. కాబట్టి వాళ్ళ ఆసక్తి, వాళ్ళ నైపుణ్యాలు ఇవన్నీ కలుపుకొని కలగలుపుగా చూసుకొని వ్యక్తిత్వానికి కనుక అది సరైనది అని అనిపిస్తే అలాంటి వాళ్ళు దానిలోకి వెళ్తున్నారు. కాబట్టి దానికి చదువు ఉండడము చదువు లేకపోవడంతో సంబంధం లేదు. దానిలో వాళ్ళు దానికి తగిన వాళ్ళ అనే నిర్ణయం వాళ్ళు తీసుకుంటారు. వాళ్ళకి ఎప్పుడైతే సక్సెస్ ఎదురవుతుందో, వాళ్ళకి ఎప్పుడైతే విజయాలు ఎదురవుతాయో ఆ సక్సెస్ అనేది వాళ్ళకి మరింత ఊపిరినిస్తుంది, మరింత ప్రోత్సాహాన్ని ఇస్తుంది. వాళ్ళు ఇంకా ముందుకెళ్తారు ఆ కెరియర్లో.
ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అనేది ఒక్కొక్క ఏరియాలో ఇంట్రెస్ట్
ఉండొచ్చు. కరెక్ట్.
ఓకే, పాలిటిక్స్ తర్వాత పాలిటిక్స్ కొంతవరకే ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉంటుంది. అలానే అందరూ ఎడ్యుకేటెడ్ పీపుల్కు పాలిటిక్స్ కావాలనే అభిరుచి వాళ్ళలో లేకపోవచ్చు. సో వాళ్ళ
వర్తమాన సమాజంలో బాగా చదువుకున్న వాళ్ళు కూడా పాలిటిక్స్లోకి వస్తున్నారండి. అసలు రావట్లేదు లేదని కూడా మనం అనలేము.
అంటే ఇంట్రెస్ట్ కూడా ఉండాలన్నది మెయిన్. ఓకే,
అవునండి.
You are talking about
Yes.
behavioristic approach.
Yes, we were talking about behavioristic approach, and so here, I mean, unlike the previous theories of traits or the heredity and biological factors and all, the proponents of behaviorism said, I mean, they emphasized upon environmental factors and learning as the core principle. So two types of major theories are discussed over here, and one is classical conditioning and the other is operant conditioning. So classical conditioning is proposed by, I mean, the theory, the proponent, major proponent of the theory is Pavlov, Ivan Pavlov, a Russian physician. His I mean, basically his theory and his research has not been related to psychology. It all started with his experiments on digestive reflexes in dogs. So a physiology experiment basically to start off with. So out of this, he made a discovery which led to the real beginnings of the behavioral theory and the classical conditioning proposition that we are going to talk about. So he discovered that first order conditioning, wherein a neutral stimulus is associated, which actually causes no response in the individual, or over here a dog, an organism. It is when it is associated with an unconditioned stimulus, an event which automatically or naturally causes a response, then this neutral stimulus becomes a conditioned stimulus. I will simplify it. In the experiment that he has done, the dog was supplied food every day. So naturally a dog salivates at the appearance of the food. So what he noticed was, before the food was supplied, the footsteps of the person who was bringing the food, or a gong, a bell which was sounded before the food. Let us take the example of bell. When a bell was sounded and the food was supplied, at the sound of the bell itself, the dog started salivating. So actually at the sound of bell, will a dog salivate? No. At the sound, at the vision of, when once it sees the food, it salivates. However, it has associated food with the bell. The bell rings, the food is supplied. So its salivation also became automatic. The neutral stimulus called the bell, which does not actually elicit a particular response, now on repeatedly being paired with the unconditioned stimulus, that is food, which naturally evokes a response which is called unconditioned response. Food, salivation, unconditioned stimulus, unconditioned response. Bell, a neutral stimulus. When bell, neutral stimulus, is repeatedly paired with this unconditioned stimulus, that is food, it acquires the status of a conditioned stimulus. And the response will be, with the sound of the bell itself, the dog starts salivating, which is conditioned response. So this was what was proposed by Freud, Pavlov. So the unconditioned stimulus, which naturally elicits a response, when repeatedly paired with a neutral stimulus, even the neutral stimulus elicits the same response, is what he talked about. Then later on he moved ahead. He did not stop with this first order conditioning that I have talked about. He says, when another neutral stimulus is introduced along with this bell, another neutral, let us say a light and then the bell, another stimulus is introduced and associated with conditioned stimulus, even further conditioning takes place. That is, the dog may respond even to the light with salivation. So this way, if we apply it to our daily life, repeatedly we teach certain things to the children. Like for example, something which is pleasant will evoke a pleasant response. You associate, for example, a particular uncle coming home, he will get sweets, he gets chocolates, she gets sweets, this auntie gets sweets, this auntie gets chocolates. So there is a pleasant feeling associated with that lady, and so on. That way, how we extend our thinking and how we respond to people depends upon this conditioning, is what he said. Then would you like to talk about operant conditioning?
Probably principles on the okay.
So
probably like we can also understand like how a person, particular person or an individual or a student develops a phobia of exams. Like mathematics teacher may not be like very comfortable for the student, or probably the child has got the failed marks in the mathematics twice or thrice, automatically he develops that phobia. So he has been conditioned that maths is very difficult, I cannot do it, I am a failure in the maths. And naturally the conditioning, this conditioning occurs through different principles like generalization,
discrimination.
Like, generalization, like if I am not comfortable or develop a fear of dogs, naturally whether it is irrespective of the breed, I develop a phobia. Similarly, the next principle is discrimination, that is I may like sweets, but I may not like all the sweets, especially the sweets made of milk. So, the discrimination.
Extending this to studies, sir,
Yeah.
mathematics is you are scared of mathematics. So, studies in general scared, they refuse to go to school, they are scared of any subject is generalization.
Generalize.
On the other hand, mathematics exam I will write, I will not write, or mathematics exam I won't write, I will write English exam, I will write social studies exam, again discrimination. So, these are generally seen even in real life.
Yeah. And the next principle is extinction. Like we try to learn certain things, but after a particular point of time we do not see the reward or anything. Naturally, whatever we have learned, whatever habit we have developed, that stops like practicing. For example, like generally this is a common thing, we try to have some resolutions, like we will do the exercise, go for jogging, this and that. So, for a week we try to do it, we feel like there is no reward, that is there is no change in the weight, we stop going to the jogging or walking. So, that is extinguished, whatever we have thought, that has been stopped. Then again probably they may try to learn from others that how yoga is very good or jogging is very good. So, again they come back to the normal practicing of the habit, that is called spontaneous recovery. So, irrespective of which conditioning it is, these principles are applied.
So, finally, I will just very quickly I will talk about another theory, sir. Looks like the time is
Right. Operant conditioning.
Operant
what I'm
conditioning,
saying. There
wherein
is,
we
Skinner.
operate upon the environment, B.F. Skinner, which was proposed by Skinner.
Skinner, okay.
Yes, and it talks about the organism encountering a special kind of stimulus and a reinforcing stimulus. That is, when it is simply a reinforcer, when you obtain a reinforcer or a reinforcement, then that impacts the behavior to be repeated again and again. When you receive a reinforcement, then the same behavior will be repeated again and again. I think going to the time, we
Yeah,
can
naturally,
close it at
like
that time.
this will help us to for the behavior modification and
Behavior
especially-
modification, and in earlier phone calls when we have talked, we said we talked about behavioral principles. In order to encourage a particular behavior, we give them reward, reinforcement.
Skinner stressed the reward and punishment.
punishment.
By using this, we can ensure the desirable
Yes.
behavior. Both punishment also works and also the reward.
Yes,
But
sir. Yes, sir.
compared to the two, that is reward and punishment, I think reward is more effective than the punishment.
Correct.
Yes.
Students, we have discussed different aspects of personality development, starting from the theory of Freud, psychoanalytic development, another one is Erikson's psychosocial development. We have also discussed the humanistic approach. We have not discussed. We have also discussed the behavioristic approach to the personality development. And there is another important theory, that is social learning theory, that was proposed by Albert Bandura. We learn much by observing others. Dr. Swathi, will you, as your short time is about 20 minutes, throw some light on this?
Yeah, probably we can say Bandura is a radical behaviorist, because he says it is not just the environment, but even the cognitive processes help us to understand the environment, help us to regulate our behavior. So, he gave with the concepts of self-efficacy, self-regulation and reciprocal determinism, that is like it is not just the environment which causes the behavior, it is equally the person and his experiences which influences the environment. So, both the person, the cognitions and the environment shape the behavior of the individual. And here he plays an important, he states like modeling plays an important role.
Right. We have discussed the different factors, that personality development, the major contributing factors, that is hereditary factors and also environmental factors. And another important thing is the interaction between the hereditary factors and biological factors and the environmental factors that determines the personality. Thank you, Dr. Padmaja and Dr. Swathi, for joining us and to explaining different concepts relating to personality development. Thank you.